A little girl covered in blood is shown inside a barn. Due to the state of her body, she appears bewildered and terrified. As she exits the barn, she hears someone calling her name. Following this, the movie goes into a flashback, where a girl named Ja-yoon is singing with her friends inside a bus as they go on a picnic. While everyone is asleep, Ja-yoon discovers a man staring at her, which freaks her out. Suddenly, the bus turns in the wrong direction and stops near a mine. Some men in the front seats then launch gas bombs, kill all the passengers, and kidnap Ja-yoon. When she wakes up, she finds herself in a lab with Dr. Baek. Ja-yoon learns from the TV that the bus she was traveling in met with an accident. As she's expecting, Ja-yoon inquires about her unborn child. Dr. Baek responds that she's aware of her pregnancy and that the child will be a girl with a twin sister and numerous siblings. Hearing this, Ja-yoon is perplexed and asks the doctor as to what she's trying to say. When a second doctor enters, she inquires if Ja-yoon is pretending or if she truly doesn't remember who she is. Back in the present, the members of Shanghai Lab, Shin, Min, Yang, and Dong barge into Ark Laboratory, where they murder a large number of people. In the next scene, a blood-covered girl named Kim regains consciousness. She's the same one from the start of the movie. As she emerges in the snow, she experiences unsettling sights and starts bleeding from the nose. Elsewhere, a man named Zhang visits Dr. Baek at a residence. He's revealed to possess superpowers as weird black veins begin to show up on his face. Dr. Baek inquires about the problem at the lab headquarters, and Zhang responds that an unknown gang has completely trashed the laboratory and caused a mess. Since very few people know about the lab, he suspects Baek is involved in it. However, the woman vehemently denies the accusation, saying they should investigate first. Zhang then reveals that after the lab was destroyed, Kim has escaped and they can't find her now. Elsewhere, Kim explores the forest till she reaches the highway. Suddenly, a car stops by and a man drags her inside. Kyung-hee, who has already been kidnapped by those men, is in the back seat of the car. She requests them to leave Kim as she is innocent, but the men do not listen to her. They instead start harassing the little girl, and this prompts Kim to use her special powers and beat them up. Unfortunately, the commotion causes the car to crash on the side of the road. When Kyung-hee regains consciousness, she notices that Kim has subdued all the kidnappers. She then immediately calls her uncle for help, who is a doctor by profession. As soon as the doctor arrives at the scene, Kim's nose begins to bleed, and she falls to the ground unconscious. The duo immediately escorts the little girl to the uncle's clinic, where he begins treating her wounds. When he x-rays her, he discovers bullets and strange chips inside her body. As he removes the bullets, the wounds heal in an instant. After a while, Uncle leaves the operating room and approaches Kyung-hee to discuss Yang-do, the same person who kidnapped her. Turns out that he's after Kyung-hee's ancestral land, as he wants to build a resort there. As the two delve deeper into conversation, Uncle claims that something is weird about Kim. He fears that they will only get into trouble if the police find out, so they should release her as soon as possible. However, Kyung-hee is not ready to abandon the girl so soon, so she decides to take care of her until she gets better. In the next scene, Jo-hyun, a soldier on a mission, defeats her foes and sustains injuries. When Tom, her assistant, yells from the receiver, she regains her consciousness and departs the place. Tom resents her for taking the risk and managing everything by herself. Once she returns home, Jo-hyun removes every bullet from her body. Her veins begin to enlarge as soon as she removes one from her head, implying that she too has superpowers. Elsewhere, Kyung-hee takes Kim to her home. On their way, the little girl is astounded to see birds, animals, and feel the wind from the car's window. When they reach home, Kyung introduces her to her brother, Dae-gil. Later, she shows Kim her bedroom and gives her fresh clothes to wear. This kind gesture makes the little girl feel loved for the first time in her life. In the following scene, Jo-hyun visits Dr. Baek, who asks her to locate Kim and kill her as she is extremely dangerous to be in the outside world. Dr. Baek reveals that her sister and the Superhumanitarian Organization have been trying to make a complete and best version of a superhuman by isolating the genes from Ja-yoon's fetus and attempting to reproduce it. She also reveals that Kim is one of them. Although Jo-hyun is skeptical at first, she finally agrees to help, as Dr. Baek had saved her several years back. Before she leaves, Baek provides her with a tracker, which will ring an alarm if she goes near Kim. Later, on their way to find Kim, Jo-hyun and Tom become aware that they are being followed. They mislead the followers into the woods, and Tom engages in a fierce battle with them. He uses the broken car door to swat away the enemies. Following this, the two again continue their journey, and soon receive a signal indicating Kim's whereabouts. Back at Kyung-hee's house, Kim begins to experience the unsettling sounds and sights, and her nose bleeds again. She hears a voice saying, "Come to mommy," which disturbs her. When she approaches the window to calm herself, she notices a number of cars approaching the house. It turns out Young-do and his subordinates have come to take over the property. Seeing this, Kyung-hee immediately rushes outside with a gun and threatens the men to stay back. However, Young-do claims that the property belongs to him. When Kyung-hee refuses to put the gun down, Young-do's men detain her. They even subdue Dae-gil and beat him up. After this, Young-do is about to finish off the siblings when he suddenly notices Kim standing on the roof. In the blink of an eye, she flies down and attacks all the men, injuring them all. After the bad guys leave, a shocked Dae-gil questions his sister about Kim, wondering if she's an alien. Nonetheless, he's impressed with the girl and wants to befriend her. Elsewhere, Jo-hyun meets with Jang in a cemetery. While they converse, they reveal that they were associated 10 years ago. As a well-wisher, Jang asks her to stay out of Kim's matter since it won't benefit her. However, Jo-hyun requests him not to interfere in her mission or else she will have to fight him too. In the following scene, we see the same gang, the Shanghai lab members, searching for Kim. They are taken aback that she's still alive despite having a gunshot lodged in her head. Meanwhile, Young-do and his goons arrive at the doctor's office and inquire about Kim, but the latter remains silent. This enrages Young-do, so he ends up cutting the doctor's fingers. As he prepares to leave, his subordinate mentions that he's in contact with a group that's looking for Kim. Hearing this, Young-do gets excited and walks away. Next, we see Kyung-hee, Kim, and Dae-gil in a car. The boy, who has grown close to Kim, introduces her to a mukbang video on YouTube and explains how it makes money. Kim, on the other hand, is awestruck by the delicacies on YouTube and expresses her desire to taste them. After a while, they visit a grocery store where she eats a lot of free food and buys more for the house. Meanwhile, Kyung-hee receives a call from the doctor uncle who asks her to visit him urgently. Upon arriving at the clinic, she discovers that he has lost his fingers. Realizing that Young-do won't stop until he gets what he wants, Uncle requests Kyung-hee to sell the property and leave. However, the latter is too shocked to speak, so she departs without giving an answer. Outside, as she gets into her car, she is suddenly stopped by Jo-hyun and Tom. The latter shows her the surveillance video from the day Kim fled the lab, explaining she is a dangerous girl who has killed many people. She then threatens Kyung-hee to hand over the girl or she will eliminate her brother. Left with no choice, she agrees. Meanwhile, Young-do meets with the Shanghai lab members and learns that they're after the little girl, so he happily takes them to her. Elsewhere, Jo-hyun tells Kyung-hee to take her brother and leave the property while they handle Kim. Kyung-hee then enters her house, while the two wait outside at a safe distance. She tries to brief the situation to her brother, but stops when she observes Kim and Dae-gil's strong friendship. Kyung-hee then tells the duo to run away from the back door, as it is not safe. Following the orders, Dae-gil takes Kim outside, but he instructs her the directions and returns to be with his sister. Just then, the Shanghai lab members arrive at the scene along with Young-do and his goons. Kyung-hee moves outdoors to defend herself, but Young-do shoots her and she dies on the spot. Seeing this, a devastated Dae-gil runs to his sister, but it is too late. Meanwhile, Shin, who has superhuman strength, destroys the house fence, launches the pieces into the air, and stabs Yongdu's minions. She and Dong then get into a fight with Jo Hyun on the roof. Even when Shin is shot in the fingers, she magically regenerates them and continues fighting. In the end, they manage to throw Jo Hyun from the roof. In the meantime, an injured Yongdu picks up his gun and shoots at Dae-gil. Jo Hyun shows up to save him, but she's a fraction too late, as the boy has already been shot, and he dies on the spot. Elsewhere, Kim regains consciousness in the forest and recalls all of her priceless memories with Kyung-hee and Dae-gil. Saddened by the realization that they are both deceased, she grieves in pain. Right then, she notices one of the members of the Shanghai lab, Min, approaching her with a corpse. Min tries to attack the little girl with her knife, but since Kim is too powerful, she easily kills her. On the other hand, Shin and Dong continue to fight with Jo Hyun and Tom. They manage to subdue Tom before stabbing Jo Hyun, rendering her unconscious. Unexpectedly, Kim arrives at the fight scene with Min's body. Although the Shanghai lab members are very powerful in their own right, they are no match for our girl. Without even moving, she uses her telekinetic abilities to subdue them. She then repels their attacks and kills them gruesomely. After this, Kim turns to Yongdu and mercilessly finishes him off. The final member of the Shanghai lab, Yang, who had been hiding, swiftly approaches Kim from behind and attempts to stab her with a knife. However, she immediately counters and makes Yang stab herself by controlling her mind. After the madness is over, a lady arrives in a car and introduces herself as Kim's sister. She explains that she is the one who helped her escape the lab. She also claims that they are twin sisters and that they were separated right after birth. Saying this much, she requests Kim's assistance in finding their mother. However, the latter doesn't react. She simply walks towards Kyung-hee and Dae-gil's lifeless bodies. As Kim grieves over their death, her sister sedates her with a chemical, saying they're going to find mother. At the end, Dr. Baek finds out that Kim and her sister are together and they are looking for their mother.